The grand hall of the Intergalactic Science Convention buzzed with excitement and tension. Representatives from dozens of species across the universe had gathered on the massive neutral space station that orbited the center point between three major galactic federations. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, a gleaming metropolis suspended in the void, its transparent dome revealing the breathtaking vista of stars, nebulae, and distant galaxies that surrounded it. Dr. Elena Graves adjusted her formal diplomatic suit as she prepared to take the stage. As Earth's leading expert in quantum propulsion technology, she had been selected to represent humanity at this prestigious gathering. At 42, she carried herself with quiet confidence born from decades of groundbreaking research. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun, and her eyes, a deep brown that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, scanned the audience with nervous anticipation. "Are you ready?" Marcus Webb whispered, touching her elbow gently. Dr. Webb was Earth's chief diplomatic officer for scientific affairs, a tall man with silver-streaked hair and the patient demeanor of someone who had spent his life navigating complex political waters. "As ready as I'll ever be," Elena replied, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "The Zorvans are here, aren't they?" Marcus nodded grimly. Third row, blue delegation, Ambassador Kalen himself is present. Elena's heart sank. The Zorvans had dominated faster-than-light travel technology for thousands of years. Their civilization, ancient and powerful, had maintained a stranglehold on interstellar travel that had kept younger species like humans effectively contained to their small corners of the galaxy. What Elena was about to present would challenge that monopoly directly. "Remember," Marcus said, "just present the facts. Don't antagonize them." "I'm a scientist, not a politician," Elena replied with a slight smile. "Facts are what I do." The moderator, a tall, willowy being from the Andromeda Galaxy with translucent skin that revealed the complex network of luminescent organs beneath, approached the podium. "It is my honor to introduce Dr. Elena Graves of Earth, who will be presenting her team's research on a revolutionary approach to faster-than-light travel." The audience's attention focused on Elena as she walked confidently to the center of the stage. The holographic display behind her flickered to life, showing complex equations and diagrams. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her voice clear and strong. "For millennia, faster-than-light travel has relied on the creation of artificial wormholes, requiring massive energy expenditure and sophisticated technology available only to a handful of civilizations." Her eyes briefly met the cold, calculating gaze of Ambassador Kalen, whose blue-scaled skin and elongated head made him instantly recognizable as a Zorvan. His expression was unreadable, but the tension in his posture was unmistakable. "Today, I present to you a fundamentally different approach," Elena continued. "Rather than forcing space-time to bend to our will, we have discovered a method to harmonize with its natural fluctuations, allowing for FTL travel with a fraction of the energy requirement." Murmurs spread through the audience as Elena displayed the results of her team's experiments. Successful trials, unprecedented efficiency ratings, and a working prototype that had already completed several interstellar journeys. "This technology," she concluded, "will democratize space travel, allowing younger civilizations to explore the cosmos without reliance on established power structures. We believe this is the next step in our collective evolution as a galactic community." The hall erupted in a mixture of applause and concerned whispers. Several delegates immediately raised their appendages to ask questions, but before the moderator could select the first speaker, Ambassador Kalen stood up abruptly. "The Zorvan Confederation requests immediate right of response," he declared, his voice a deep, resonant vibration that seemed to bypass the universal translators and reverberate directly in everyone's skulls. The moderator hesitated, then nodded. "The floor recognizes Ambassador Kalen of the Zorvan Confederation." Kalen strode to the stage, his 7-foot frame towering over Eleni. Up close, she could see the intricate patterns of scales that covered his face and the cold intelligence in his 6 pupil-less eyes. "What we have witnessed," he began without preamble, "is not science but fantasy. The human delegation presents theoretical models without the fundamental understanding of cosmic principles that only comes with millennia of experience. Elena felt her face flush with anger, but she maintained her composure. Ambassador, she replied calmly, our results have been verified independently by 3 different neutral research institutions. This is not theory, but demonstrated fact. Kalen's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile on a human face, but on his alien visage appeared more like a grimace. Humans, he said, turning to address the audience directly, have been traveling between stars for less than 2 centuries. The Zorvan Confederation has guided the development of FTL technology for over 50,000 years. It is amusing that they believe they have discovered something we have not thoroughly explored and dismissed. Elena felt her patience wearing thin. Science isn't about authority or tradition, Ambassador, it's about evidence, and our evidence is irrefutable. Evidence manufactured by primitive instruments and interpreted through incomplete understanding. Kalen countered dismissively. Your species still struggles with basic gravitational theory. How could you possibly comprehend the complexities of transdimensional physics? The tension in the room was palpable. Other delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats, many of them representing civilizations that, like Earth, had chafed under Zorvan technological dominance for centuries. Perhaps, Elena suggested, her voice tight with controlled anger. The Zorvan Confederation's reluctance to acknowledge our breakthrough has less to do with scientific skepticism and more to do with protecting your monopoly on interstellar travel. A collective gasp went through the audience. No one challenged the Zorvans so directly, especially not representatives from younger civilizations. Kalen's 6 eyes narrowed simultaneously. You accuse the oldest civilization in the known universe of scientific dishonesty? His voice had dropped to a dangerous whisper. I suggest that even the oldest civilizations are not immune to economic self-interest. Elena replied, standing her ground. What happened next occurred so quickly that many delegates would later disagree about the exact sequence of events. Ambassador Kalen stepped forward, his right hand moving in a blur of motion, and delivered a resounding slap to Elena's face. The crack echoed through the suddenly silent hall. Elena staggered backward, her hand flying to her cheek in shock. Marcus Webb leaped to his feet, as did several Earth security personnel stationed around the perimeter of the hall. How dare you question the integrity of the Zorvan Confederation? Kalen hissed, apparently oblivious to the severity of what he had just done. In Zorvan culture, physical reprimands were standard practice for those who challenged authority. A fact that their diplomatic corps had evidently failed to consider might not translate well to interspecies relations. Elena straightened, her eyes blazing with fury and humiliation. A thin trickle of blood ran from the corner of her mouth where one of Kalen's scales had cut her skin. In the name of Earth and the United Federation of Planets, she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, I formally protest this assault and demand an immediate investigation by the Intergalactic Council. The moderator, clearly flustered, called for order as chaos erupted in the hall. Representatives from various worlds began shouting over one another, some defending the Zorvan ambassador's right to maintain the dignity of his office, others expressing outrage at the physical attack on a diplomat during a scientific conference. Marcus Webb reached Elena's side, placing a protective arm around her shoulders. We need to leave. Now, he whispered urgently. No, Elena replied firmly, wiping the blood from her lip. If we leave, they win. This isn't just about me or even about our research anymore. This is about humanity's place in the galactic community. Word of the incident spread through the space station like wildfire. And within hours, it had been transmitted across the known universe via quantum communication channels. On Earth, emergency sessions of the United Federation of Planets were convened, with government leaders from around the world gathering to determine how to respond to what was being characterized as an unprovoked attack on human dignity. In the days that followed, Elena found herself at the center of a diplomatic storm. She received messages of support from hundreds of worlds, many of them expressing admiration for her courage in standing up to Zorvan arrogance. But there were also threats, particularly from civilizations allied with the Zorvans, suggesting that humanity was overstepping its place in the cosmic hierarchy. We've received a formal communication from the Zorvan High Council. Marcus informed Elena a week after the incident. They were meeting in a secure room aboard the Earth diplomatic vessel that had remained docked at the space station. Let me guess, Elena said bitterly. They're claiming I provoked the ambassador, and they expect me to apologize. Marcus nodded grimly. Essentially, they're framing it as a cultural misunderstanding and suggesting that Ambassador Kalin was merely responding in accordance with Zorvan diplomatic protocol. Elena laughed humorlessly. Diplomatic protocol. He physically assaulted me in front of representatives from half the known universe. I know, Marcus sighed. But the Zorvans wield enormous influence. Several of the council members are already suggesting we should accept their explanation and move on in the interest of galactic harmony. Elena's eyes flashed with determination. And if we don't, if we demand actual accountability, Marcus hesitated. The Zorvans control key hyperspace lanes that our commerce depends on. They have technology that could wipe out Earth with minimal effort. The Federation Council is concerned about potential repercussions. So we just roll over? Elena asked incredulously. Except that as a species, we can be physically assaulted without consequence? What kind of precedent does that set? Before Marcus could respond, Elena's personal communication device chimed. It was a priority message from Admiral Hiroshi Yamamoto, the head of Earth's Space Defense Force. Dr. Graves. The Admiral's voice was crisp and formal. The Federation Council has reached a decision. I've been authorized to inform you that Earth will not be accepting the Zorvan explanation, nor will we be offering any apology. Furthermore, we are demanding a formal, public apology from Ambassador Kalin and the Zorvan High Council. Elena exchanged a surprised look with Marcus. That's unexpected. What changed? Public opinion, Admiral Yamamoto replied. The recording of the incident has been viewed by billions across Earth. The people are united in their outrage. No government could survive capitulating in the face of such clear aggression. And if the Zorvans refuse? Elena asked. There was a moment of silence before the Admiral answered. Then, Dr. Graves, we are prepared to take more decisive action. I've been authorized to mobilize the 7th Fleet to secure our interests. The implications were clear. Earth was prepared to go to war over this incident. Admiral, Elena said carefully, I appreciate the support, but I don't want to be responsible for starting an interstellar conflict. With all due respect, Dr. Graves, this isn't about you anymore. The Admiral replied, This is about humanity's place in the universe. For too long, we've been treated as second-class citizens in the galactic community. The Zorvans and others have kept us dependent on their technology, restricted our expansion, and dictated the terms of our participation in cosmic affairs. Your research was already challenging that status quo. This incident has simply brought the underlying tensions to the surface. After the call ended, Elena sat in stunned silence. He's right, Marcus said quietly. This was always going to happen eventually. Your breakthrough was just the catalyst. News of Earth's stance spread quickly throughout the galactic community, triggering a wave of diplomatic realignments. Many younger civilizations, long chafing under Zorvan dominance, publicly declared their support for Earth. Others, particularly those with deep economic or military ties to the Zorvan Confederation, issued statements condemning humanity's disproportionate response to a minor cultural misunderstanding. The Intergalactic Council, ostensibly neutral but historically dominated by older civilizations, found itself paralyzed by the deepening crisis. Sessions devolved into shouting matches as representatives from various worlds took increasingly partisan positions. Meanwhile, Ambassador Kalin refused to back down. In a widely broadcast statement, he dismissed Earth's demands as the tantrum of an infant species unaccustomed to the realities of cosmic diplomacy. The Zorvan Confederation has guided the development of countless civilizations throughout our long history, he declared haughtily. We will not be dictated to by humans, whose emergence from their planetary cradle is barely a blink in cosmic time. his words only served to inflame tensions further. Earth's Seventh Fleet, comprising hundreds of warships equipped with the latest defensive and offensive capabilities, began taking up positions near key strategic locations. The Zorvans responded by deploying their own military assets, vast city ships that had been the enforcers of their will for millennia. 2 weeks after the initial incident, Elena was summoned to Earth for an emergency meeting with the Federation Council. The council chambers in Geneva were filled to capacity with world leaders, military officials, and scientific advisors. Dr. Graves, began President Sofia Alvarez, the current head of the Federation Council. Your research into alternative FTL methods has become even more critical in light of recent events. How close are we to full implementation? Elena glanced at the expectant faces around her. The prototype has successfully completed 7 interstellar journeys. With additional resources, we could begin retrofitting existing vessels within 3 months. Admiral Yamamoto leaned forward. And this would free us from dependence on Zorvan-controlled hyperspace lanes? Completely. Elena confirmed. Our method doesn't require the artificial wormhole generators that the Zorvans control. We could chart our own paths through space-time. The implications weren't lost on anyone in the room. Earth's bargaining position would be dramatically strengthened if they weren't reliant on Zorvan technology for interstellar travel. Then we proceed as planned. President Alvarez declared, Admiral Yamamoto, the 7th Fleet will maintain its current positions. Dr. Graves, you'll receive whatever resources you need to accelerate the implementation of your FTL drive. And Ambassador Webb, you will deliver our final message to the Intergalactic Council. Marcus nodded solemnly. And what message shall I deliver, Madam President? President Alvarez's expression was resolute. Earth demands a formal, public apology from Ambassador Kalin and the Zorvan High Council for the unprovoked assault on Dr. Graves. We demand recognition of our right to develop and implement our own FTL technology without interference. And we demand equal status within the galactic community, with all the rights and protections afforded to older civilizations. She paused, looking around the room. If these demands are not met within 7 standard days, Earth will withdraw from all existing treaties with the Zorvan Confederation and will take any actions necessary to protect our sovereignty and interests. The council chamber erupted in a mixture of applause and anxious murmuring. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The president had just issued what amounted to an ultimatum, one that the proud Zorvans were unlikely to accept. Madam President, Elena said, rising to her feet, may I speak? President Alvarez nodded. Of course, Dr. Graves, you, more than anyone, have earned that right. I understand the need to stand firm. Elena began carefully. But I'm concerned that we're moving too quickly toward military confrontation. The Zorvans have technologies we can't match, even with our new FTL drive. Admiral Yamamoto interjected. With respect, Dr. Graves, you're not privy to all of Earth's defensive capabilities. We've been preparing for this possibility for decades. Elena frowned. What do you mean? President Alvarez exchanged glances with the Admiral before responding. Dr. Graves, your FTL breakthrough isn't the only advanced technology Earth has been developing in secret. We've made significant strides in quantum weaponry, adaptive shield systems, and other areas that the Zorvans and others believe to be beyond our capabilities. You've been planning for war? Elena asked, aghast. We've been planning for independence, the president corrected firmly. The assault on you was merely the spark that ignited long-simmering tensions. But make no mistake, Dr. Graves, this confrontation was inevitable from the moment humanity reached for the stars and found them already claimed by others. The following days were a blur of activity. Elena worked around the clock with her team, refining the FTL drive and overseeing its installation on key vessels of the Earth fleet. Meanwhile, Marcus Webb returned to the Intergalactic Council to deliver Earth's ultimatum. The response from the Zorvan High Council came swiftly and predictably. They rejected Earth's demands outright, characterizing them as the insolent posturing of a species that has yet to learn its proper place in the cosmic order. As the deadline approached, an uneasy calm settled over the galaxy. Ships from neutral worlds hurriedly evacuated contested areas, while commercial traffic along major trade routes slowed to a trickle. Everyone was waiting to see whether Earth would follow through on its threats or back down in the face of Zorvan intransigence. On the eve of the deadline, Elena found herself aboard the EFS Prometheus, the flagship of Earth's Seventh Fleet. Admiral Yamamoto had requested her presence as they prepared for what might become the first interstellar war involving Earth. "I never wanted this," Elena confessed as she stood on the observation deck with the Admiral, watching the vast array of Earth vessels positioned strategically around them. "All I wanted was to advance science, to free humanity from technological dependence." Admiral Yamamoto nodded sympathetically. "Few people ever want war, Dr. Graves, but sometimes it finds us anyway." He turned to face her directly. "History will remember that you stood your ground. That matters, regardless of what happens next." Elena was about to respond when an aide rushed onto the deck. "Admiral, urgent communication from Earth. The Intergalactic Council has called an emergency session." The Admiral's eyebrows rose in surprise. "At this hour? What's happened?" The Arcturian Collective, the Sirius Confederacy, and 12 other mid-tier civilizations have publicly declared their support for Earth's position. The aide reported breathlessly. "They're demanding that the Council take action against what they're calling Zorvan hegemonic aggression." This was unexpected. The Arcturians and Sirians were significant powers in their own right, though still younger than the Zorvans. Their support lent considerable weight to Earth's stance. "There's more," the aide continued. "The Zorvan High Council has recalled Ambassador Kalen and announced that they will be sending a senior representative to address the council session." Admiral Yamamoto and Elena exchanged meaningful looks. "They're blinking," the Admiral said quietly. The emergency council session was broadcast throughout known space. Elena watched from the Prometheus as representatives from dozens of worlds took their places in the Grand Chamber. The Zorvan seat, notably, was occupied not by Ambassador Kalen, but by High Counselor Vex Alia, one of the most senior members of the Zorvan leadership. The Council Arbiter, a member of the ancient and respected Zelnaga species, called the session to order. "We are gathered here to address the diplomatic crisis between Earth and the Zorvan Confederation," he began solemnly. "High Counselor Vex Alia has requested the opportunity to address the Council." Vex Alia rose to her full height, her elaborate ceremonial garments glittering under the chamber's lights. Unlike Kalen, whose demeanor had been openly contemptuous, Vex Alia's expression was grave and dignified. "Honored representatives of the galactic community," she began, her translator rendering her words in the formal tones of high diplomatic speech. "The Zorvan Confederation has guided the development of interstellar civilization for 50 millennia. Throughout our long history, we have witnessed the rise and fall of countless species, some of whom now sit among you as equals." She paused, her 6 eyes sweeping the chamber. "It has come to our attention that recent actions by our diplomatic representative, Ambassador Kalen, have caused significant distress and have been interpreted as an affront to the dignity of humanity." A murmur ran through the assembly. This was already more conciliatory than any previous Zorvan statement. "After careful consideration and consultation with our historical archives," Vex Alia continued, "the High Council acknowledges that what constitutes appropriate diplomatic conduct varies greatly among species. What might be considered a standard rebuke in Zorvan culture could be perceived as a grievous offense by others." Elena held her breath. Was this heading toward an actual apology? "Therefore, on behalf of the Zorvan Confederation, I express our regret for the misunderstanding that has arisen. Ambassador Kalen has been recalled for additional diplomatic training." There was a subtle emphasis on the word additional that suggested Kalen's career had suffered a significant setback. "Furthermore," Vex Alia added, "the Confederation recognizes Earth's right to develop its own technologies, including faster-than-light travel methods, without interference. We look forward to a new era of cooperative exploration of the cosmos." It wasn't exactly the full, unequivocal apology that Earth had demanded, but it was close enough to allow both sides to save face. More importantly, It acknowledged humanity's right to technological self-determination, a significant concession from the previously unyielding Zorvans. The Earth representative, a seasoned diplomat named Dr. Sarah Chen, responded with equal grace. Earth accepts the Zorvan Confederation's statement and welcomes the opportunity to forge a more equitable relationship between our civilizations. The tension that had gripped the galaxy for weeks began to dissipate. Ships resumed their normal routes. Trade negotiations reopened, and the immediate threat of war receded. Aboard the Prometheus, Admiral Yamamoto ordered the fleet to stand down from high alert. A diplomatic victory, he remarked to Elena. Rare, but all the more precious for it. Elena nodded, relief washing over her. But why did they back down? The Zorvans have never conceded anything to younger species before. The Admiral's expression was thoughtful. I suspect they realize that the balance of power is shifting. Your FTL breakthrough, combined with our other technological advances and the support we receive from other civilizations, perhaps they calculated that the cost of conflict outweighed the benefits of maintaining their traditional dominance. Or maybe, Elena suggested with a slight smile, they're finally learning that age alone doesn't confer wisdom, and that even younger civilizations have something valuable to contribute. The aftermath of what became known as the Graves Incident transformed galactic politics in ways that would reverberate for centuries. The Intergalactic Council underwent significant reforms, with more representation given to younger civilizations and a new charter of galactic rights established to protect the dignity and sovereignty of all member species. Earth's status within the cosmic community rose dramatically. With the successful implementation of Elena's FTL drive, human vessels began exploring regions of space previously inaccessible to them, establishing new colonies and trade relationships without Zorvan oversight. The Zorvans, for their part, gradually adapted to their diminished role. While still one of the most powerful civilizations in known space, they could no longer dictate terms to others as they once had. Some Zorvan scholars even began studying human scientific methodologies, recognizing that innovation sometimes required fresh perspectives unbound by traditional thinking. 6 months after the incident, Elena found herself back on the same space station where it had all begun, this time to receive the Intergalactic Science Academy's highest honor for her FTL breakthrough. As she accepted the award, she couldn't help but reflect on the strange sequence of events that had led to this moment. Scientific advancement has never existed in isolation from social and political realities, she said in her acceptance speech. The pursuit of knowledge cannot be separated from questions of power, access, and equality. My hope is that the technology we've developed will not only allow us to explore new regions of space, but also to forge new understandings between diverse civilizations. After the ceremony, as Elena mingled with representatives from dozens of worlds, she was approached by a familiar blue-scaled figure. It wasn't Ambassador Kalen, who had not been seen in public since his recall, but High Counselor Vex'Alia herself. Dr. Graves, the Zorvan leader, said formally, "Your achievements are impressive." Elena inclined her head slightly. "Thank you, High Counselor." "I wonder," Vex'Alia continued, her voice lowered so that only Elena could hear, "if you understand the full implications of what you've set in motion." Elena met the Zorvan's gaze steadily. "I believe I do. A more equal relationship between our civilizations. A galaxy where knowledge and resources are shared more freely." Vex'Alia's mouth curved in what might have been a smile or a grimace. Perhaps, or perhaps something else entirely. She leaned closer. The Zorvan Confederation has maintained stability in this region of space for millennia. We have contained certain threats, regulated access to technologies that could cause harm in the wrong hands, preserved balances of power that prevent destructive conflicts. Are you suggesting that our independence threatens galactic stability? Elena asked, keeping her voice calm despite her rising irritation. I am suggesting, Dr. Graves, that with freedom comes responsibility. Vex'Alia replied, Humanity has claimed its place among the stars. Now you must learn what it means to be a guardian of cosmic peace, not merely a participant in it. Before Elena could respond, The Zorvan leader had already turned away, moving gracefully through the crowd toward the exit. Marcus Webb appeared at Elena's side, having witnessed the exchange from a distance. "What was that about?" he asked curiously. Elena frowned thoughtfully. "I'm not entirely sure. A warning? A challenge? Or maybe—" She paused, considering. "Maybe an invitation." "An invitation to what?" "To prove that humanity deserves the place we've claimed," Elena replied. "That we can be responsible stewards of advanced technology. That we can contribute to galactic stability rather than disrupt it." Marcus nodded slowly. "And do you think we can?" Elena looked out through the station's transparent dome at the vast, star-filled expanse beyond. Somewhere out there, Earth's ships were exploring new worlds, making first contact with previously unknown civilizations, and extending the reach of human knowledge further than ever before. "I think we have to try," she said finally. "That's the responsibility that comes with standing up for ourselves. We wanted to be treated as equals. Now we have to prove we deserve it." As she spoke, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that the Graves incident, as significant as it had been, was merely the opening chapter in a much longer story. One that would determine not just humanity's place in the cosmos, but the shape of galactic civilization for millennia to come. And it had all started with a slap, a single moment of cultural misunderstanding and wounded pride that had catalyzed changes no one could have predicted. Elena didn't know whether to feel proud or terrified of her role in setting these events in motion. Perhaps, she reflected, it was appropriate to feel both. The universe, after all, had never promised simplicity, only infinite possibility and the chance to reach for something greater than oneself. As a scientist, and now, unexpectedly, as a symbol of humanity's emerging cosmic identity, Elena Graves could ask for nothing more.